friends, this is the Be Real Babe podcast, a place where your average Canadian wolf pack come together to talk about life's stresses, messes, and successes. A safe space where being yourself is the ultimate goal. Each week we will bring you new episodes, sharing our experiences on a ton of different topics, in hopes we get a better understanding of ourselves, each other, and this crazy world we live in. We want to build a community where we can show up as ourselves, be real, and lay it all out there. By sharing our experiences, we hope to reach others who can relate so we can all help each other learn, grow, and heal. But please keep in mind, as a disclaimer, none of us here are professionals, no one is giving any advice. We are strictly speaking of our life experiences and for entertainment purposes only. Now with that being said, it's time. So grab your drink, grab your joint, and let's jump right in. Welcome everyone. Welcome back to the Be Real Babe podcast. I'm your host Brandy, and today we are on episode 12, another guest appearance. You guys, I absolutely love it. We have so many amazing guests coming, and today our first one is probably one of my favorite humans in the entire planet. The reason me and this gal connect so much together is because she is real, honest, one of the most badass babes I know. She lit so many sparks in myself. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce for our first guest today, my girlfriend, Chelsea. Hey, Chelsea, how's it going?
Aw, hey, good. How are you?
I'm really good. I'm so excited. I found the first topic that I could bring you in on this because I was with you through your whole pregnancy, right beside you.
Yeah,
And
you were.
we were together side by side. And what I appreciated the most is that you were so fucking respectful of what I was going through at the same time, as well, like leaning on me as a friend, and the balance that we had throughout that year. I really appreciate, and I think that's always been our friendship, but I don't know if I ever said that to you, so I'm gonna say that now. I really
Oh,
appreciated you being so open with me in your pregnancy, while also being respectful and being like, hey, are you in a good headspace to accept this? And I just had never had a friend do that. So before we get into that and deeper into this, I wanted to take a second to say thank you for that.
oh, I love you.
I love you too. So that's why I
Oh,
was like, I have to bring Chelsea on this because I
it
know
was a
that
special year for us.
it was, and your pregnancy and just watching you become a mom and just how real you've been with me through all of this, and how I know by you being real on your social media platform, you've been able to connect to a lot of new moms. So to me, your story is very important to bring up because I think a lot of people are afraid to be open about maybe not the beautiful things of it, even though it is beautiful. So again, thank you for coming on the show. I love you. So stoked. It won't be your last one. You'll get addicted. Trust me. Um, but before we jump into the questions about your pregnancy, can you give our little community, for those that don't know Chelsea, a little bit more about you?
Yeah, for sure. My name's Chelsea. I am 32 years old. I have an 8-month-old daughter now and live in Grand Prairie, Alberta. Lived here for almost 8 years now. And I'm a spin instructor and I'm about to be an everything instructor, hoping actually to start specializing in postpartum fitness and pregnancy fitness,
Oh,
because I feel like there is a giant gap in our healthcare system. So I want to fill that.
I don't think there's anything more perfect for you. And I love that that came up in here. And the minute we know more about that, we will definitely be sharing that out for everyone in the community too that are in Grand Prairie. A majority of our people are in Grand Prairie, since that's where a lot of me and Kayla's heart is. So we'll definitely, I love that. I kind of have been watching how you've been going with that. And I, I just don't see any other reason for you to do anything else in your future but that.
It was unexpected. I was not expecting it to happen, but I'm just going
Course.
with it because it feels right.
Absolutely. And sometimes you just, and that's the beautiful thing of just like being happy with all the things that you do in life, and you do your passions. And then one day something just clicks and it just lines up that gets to be a part of your career and your future. And you're like, oh, well, this is why all these things, have worked out to lead me to this moment. So that's awesome. I'm really excited to see you do that. And I think that's the perfect role for you. And you're right. It is missing. I mean,
Hmm.
I can't speak from experience, but from what I hear from moms, it's like that's a huge, and no one having the honest conversations. And you've been that one, like, quit freaking telling me how my postpartum body should be. And I just said that in the last episode. I should have sent it to you. I got real mad about it. And just said it's really nobody's comment on what any woman should do postpartum with their bodies. And you've definitely
Hmm.
been like that too. So I'm excited for you to be a pioneer for women in that space, just like you have been from day one on your journey. So yay for you.
I'm gonna try. Stay
You're
mouthy.
Yeah, exactly. And you're doing it great. So let's jump into these questions, love. And I'll just so a little like feedback of me and Chelsea. We actually started our journeys together, teaching fitness together. So we had a joint spin and dance class, and she re-sparked the light in my fitness needs. And even though that's not something I do now, I honestly feel like all those things led me to actually the podcast today, if we're being honest. Even though that seems like a weird connection, but it was just kind of like I
It's
knew
the
I needed.
butterfly effect.
It is, right? Like I just knew
Yeah.
I had to help people and I just wasn't sure how. And just for my life right now, fitness is just not the avenue I can physically show up. I have a very physical job. This way I get to show up looking like a troll, wearing very smelly clothes. I don't know if I brushed my teeth today, to be honest, but that's fine. Because you guys don't know that. You just hear my voice. So I try not to smoke as much weed before we go. That's the only thing I got to worry about. Only thing. But yeah, it blows my mind that we just not just started, like it was like instructor, participant, and now we get to watch each other like really align with the things that we were meant to do and cheer each other on and have been honest, like one of the most honest friendships I've ever had. So yeah, I just highly recommend anybody listening to get a real honest friend and have the uncomfortable conversations with each other, have the wins and celebrate the wins and go through the hard stuff, because man, it's like having a family member your whole life that you've just had for a couple years.
Mm-hmm.
So
That's
anyways,
exactly what it is.
I'm squirreling. I just love Chelsea and I just want everyone to know how much. Anyways, let's get into this. And guys, remember too, this is just about pregnancy. So we will definitely have more episodes on labor and delivery and parenting.
Yeah.
So every time we go into this, we're just like, we know this is a way bigger topic than we can fit in an hour. But to start the questions, my love, did you always know that you wanted to have one or more children?
So I saw this question when you sent it to me earlier, and I was trying to think about it because I flip-flopped back and forth quite a bit. I was like the 12, 13, 14-year-old that was being babysat by grandma and watching Maury Povich with like those TV shows where it was like 14-year-old girl gets pregnant and now she has to tell her mom. And I was like, I want to be that young mom. And it was like something so embarrassing. It was like something I aspired to be. I was like, I want to get pregnant, but I was like terrified of boys. So
Yeah, that's
it
fine.
was just obviously not going to work. So that passed. My high school boyfriend, like him and I were super in love. And when it came time for us to graduate, he was like, well, I'm going to join the military and we'll get married and you can start having babies. And I was like, oh, nope, nope. And then literally for 6 years, I was like, I'm never having kids. It's just not something that interests me. It was just like a sudden switch and I just didn't want it anymore. And then I met the right person and we clicked. And before we even started dating, we said we wanted to have each other's babies.
Oh, I
So
love that.
yeah,
Who cares if we're getting married, but we're gonna procreate together. I don't
yeah,
care if we live together, but that's how I love that though. Because
yeah.
honestly, we just said to us, like having a child is a far, with all respect to marriage, to me, having a child with someone is a far deeper connection and commitment than marriage. And that's something like I haven't had kids, but I've been married and it was quite
Hmm.
an easy walk away. Not easy, don't get me wrong, but a lot easier to walk away without having children. So to me, that's
Yeah.
a huge commitment. If you find someone that you want to have a baby with, like that's amazing. That's amazing to
Yeah.
just know that. So that's cute. And I think I was the same way. There's just some period of life you're like, fuck no.
It was,
Like,
yeah, that was like a solid 5 or 6 years where I was like, there's never,
but that's
no.
good. That's good because it made you extra careful at that time when you obviously weren't in the right time
Hmm.
frame, the right frame of mind, and with the right person. And I think that's the best part. And I understand people wanting to have them to have that part of them that's missing, but I also really love people that were just like with you, or just like yeah, same thing. You're just like, you grow up and you're like, yeah, I want to be, that looks so great. Or like, I'm sure now people are watching Teen Moms and they're like, as a teen, like, I want to be, look how famous she is. And
Yeah, a teen mom would be the equivalent of Maury Povich now, right?
exactly. Like
So
exactly. That was a big deal if you were on Maury too. Like now we all look back and laugh. But then yeah, no, I
yeah.
totally get it. That was like being on The Price is Right. Like there's big deals about shows back then. And then I think that's like the universe just being like, nope, you're not having kids right now, and that's good. And then when you found the right person, then it was all
Yep,
meant
but
to
it was
be.
good.
So that's good. So then did you ever feel at any point in your life to be pressured to have kids at all?
After Justin and I had been together for a while, we definitely started getting comments quite a bit. And it wasn't what people thought. So I've been a fitness competitor for on and off for 10 years,
Mm-hmm.
doing like bodybuilding competitions, and they're just a really good way for me to. It's not that I want to be that have that as a career. It was just something to do to focus on.
Yeah.
So actually, the one that I did for my 30th birthday, Justin and I were talking about kids. We were kind of trying, kind of not trying, and it just wasn't happening. And so then I actually ended up getting an appointment with a fertility doctor. Um, and nothing again happened with that for a little while. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to compete and just get my mind off of this for a bit, and then we'll come back to it. And I did that twice. But as I was competing, people just kept saying, you're going to have to stop focusing on your body and your fitness competitions, and you're going to have to start focusing on having a family soon. And I was like, if you guys only knew like the reason behind these competitions, because it was literally a distraction from not being able to get pregnant.
Yeah.
So there was definitely pressure when we had been together for a certain amount of time, and it was just expected of us,
Yeah.
um, without anybody knowing what the backstory was.
Yeah, and I think that's what we just had our conversation in the last one when I kind of, obviously I can't speak too much on pregnancy, but I can definitely understand the pressures of it. And it was the same thing with me and my ex-husband, and even me and Grant now, we get the same thing. And it's like I love and I totally understand where people are coming from. Babies are fucking awesome. Like being able to be pregnant, like whether you have a good or one, like the ability to is as a blessing. And we understand that people just want to transfer that type of love. But when you're in a moment of like, struggling or uncertainty, like those words, what people don't understand sometimes are like daggers and they just make that stress even
Hmm.
more. And that's kind of like where it comes down to it is at the end of the day, I just wish there was no comments on what women needed to do for their bodies, because just because we're not sharing it publicly doesn't mean we're not going through it. So just because you weren't going to everyone saying, hey, I'm doing these competitions, not only because I love the science of it and I enjoy the sport, but it's a really good distraction, while I'm trying to figure out what's going on, while I'm trying to conceive, you shouldn't have to say that for people just to back off and that not be a question or pressure,
Yeah, yeah. And that was never, I don't think I ever shared that with anybody really until now,
Well, fair.
because it just wasn't necessary.
Yes, of course.
So,
And then you get
yeah,
more
I hope some of you
questions.
guys are listening and feel stupid
Yeah,
now.
exactly,
Yeah.
right? And that's just like our point is like just not everyone, for us, we're in a different phases where we can talk about it. There's some things that I'm still going through that I'm not ready, I don't know, to talk about, and that's to each everyone's journey. But just because someone doesn't talk about it doesn't mean they're not going through it. And so like we said, like Kayla had comments when she was in the gym pregnant lifting, like it's really, a guy telling her she shouldn't be there, and even though he came from the right frame of mind, like obviously she knows what she's doing and she's gotten approval for it. Like just let it be. Unless they're like in the back
Hmm.
alley shooting at meth, like let moms do what they want to do. For the most part, if they don't know what they're doing, they'll figure it out as they go along. That's what parenting is all about. No one has the handbook. Or I don't think.
Yeah.
Maybe do you get one on delivery? I've yet to hear this. Is this a thing?
A friend of mine gave me a manual,
Perfect.
but I haven't actually opened it.
Exactly. See, no one's got fucking time. Y'all are too tired to read it
No.
anyways. So then to Chelsea, to go on here, then how old were you when you had Monroe? Again.
I was 31.
31. Yeah, perfect.
31? Yeah, 31. No, I had her when I was 32. I was 31 when I got pregnant.
Yeah, perfect. And see, like that
Yeah.
was like again where my mom had her kids the second round. That was the same age as well. And I think she would attest, if she, as much as she loves me, we all know that she loves me. She'll say that when she had a choice to go back and do it in her early 20s again to her earlier 30s, she would have picked her 30s just for where she was at in her life too. Do you feel the same way? Do you feel like that was a good age for you? Like you felt like some young moms feel like, Kayla had said earlier that she didn't really feel prepared. Do you feel like you were at that perfect age to be having
I
babies?
think I was overly prepared. I think, yeah, it was time, it was ready. I now looking back, I feel like it happened at the right time. I hate saying that
No,
because I would have loved it to be
of
sooner, but
course.
all in all, at the end of the day, it happened at the right time.
Absolutely. And I think for me, I don't know about you, but I get so excited and so hell bent on something when I know I'm ready for it. And I'm like, yeah, this is what I want to do, that I really struggle at not controlling how fast or when I get it.
Hmm.
And it's been such a lesson for me. And I think that's probably for you, or it's just like you wanted that so bad, but then once it gets delivered to you, it just kind of clicks to understand, like, okay, this is why it was delivered to me at this time.
Yeah, it was so, so frustrating because it was such like a regimented life with fitness competitions and like this is what I want to do, so this is what I have to do to get there, and I can do that as long as I work really, really hard. But I mean, if you go up to your significant other with a schedule and be like, okay, we're banging at this time on this day, it doesn't get accepted that
Yeah,
well.
it's not as yeah, I totally get it. It's definitely something that's more like, you don't want to have necessarily. I mean, you sometimes it has to have that kind of like military
Yeah,
timing when it comes
yeah.
to like lining up, but in the same sense you're like, how do I deliver this sexy enough where
I'm gonna
yeah,
try.
how do I, like, is there a TikTok dance I can be taught to, is there a fertility dance or something, like a mating song I have to sing? Like, someone help me out here.
I've missed something.
Yes. So was this a class that I skipped out on? I was smoking pot in, like, what? And I think we can all say though, the next question that you kind of answers is that I think for you, you were definitely ready because, like you said, you went through your phase
Yeah.
where you weren't into it, and then you knew you were, and for whatever reason, usually I like to believe it's universal. Monroe came at when she did, and I know having a baby through the pandemic is something most people have not experienced, and that's a whole conversation. We will definitely hold space for you guys, new moms in the pandemic for sure. I think my
Hmm.
favorite part about you, like with everything, is that you chose to try and learn and see that even though you had your days, like you've been honest about that, but you've definitely tried to make it the best for you and Monroe. And I think that's all that anybody can fucking do is just look at the amazing times, like you said, they might not happen with everybody else, but you guys got time together, that you might not have
Hmm.
had it been a normal life. So I love that about your circumstances. You're like, I'm not going to let this like ruin my daughter's first year. I'm going to make it the best that I can. And you've done a great job. At least on the outside is what we're seeing. It looks really fun.
I'm
You're doing
trying.
good. You're doing good. So again, scrolling back to your pregnancy. So how, and I know a grand scheme of things, it's kind of hard, but how was your pregnancy when it comes to body changes, like weight gaining, the good, the bad from conception to birth, what you're willing to share? How was that in a highlight?
Um, I didn't start, so again, with fitness competitions, I was doing them once a year for 2 years in a row, and then I was pregnant. So people were just used to kind of seeing me at the time where I was starting to show with abs. So I did my best to keep my pregnancy. I really wanted to keep it a secret for as long as I possibly could, just to keep it to myself, just for a million
Yeah.
reasons. Um, and it just I did start showing, and it was obvious on my body type at the time because I had just competed, so I was still super low body
Yeah.
fat. Um, so it was showing, and there was no way of hiding it anymore. The weight gain wasn't too bad because I had what I like to call puke Tourette's, and it's not me knocking Tourette's at all.
No.
It genuinely was mid conversation, had to stop to dry heave a couple of times and then continued the conversation. Like it wasn't even necessarily throwing up every time, but at least gagging. It was the strangest experience. It was so frustrating. Um, I had I was so not glowy and not beautiful through it. It was so gross for me. I had dry skin to the point I was at a conference in Calgary and my boss left the conference room and brought me back face moisturizer and serum to keep the flakes on my face from falling off onto everybody. It was
Well,
so
probably
bad.
because you're dry heaving too and like not able to keep fluids in, and that doesn't help on top of everything else.
Yeah, yeah. I was given some meds. It, they did. I'd had some serious anxiety going to the doctors. I just had anxiety about pregnancy
Yeah.
altogether. Um, so I went to the doctor and I didn't word myself well with what my issues were. So I was given medication and I thought it was a generic version of dicleptin. Dicleptin is the drug that they prescribe pregnant women to help them with morning
Oh,
sickness.
okay.
Um, what I was prescribed was something with codeine that apparently was supposed to help me
Oh,
sleep, and that there was just a miscommunication there. So I was popping those at work for a couple of days and ended up having to get people to drive me home from work in the middle of the day because I was too
Oh my
stoned
gosh.
to drive myself. I just like complete miscommunication. So I was just pregnancy brain plus sick. I had on the high end of normal blood pressure, but then I also had headaches that were making me not able to see anymore. I couldn't type on a computer. I couldn't read anything. So when those things happened together, I needed to go to the hospital to get monitored to see if everything was okay, and it always was fine. It was just like a ridiculously kind of comical problems. It was nothing serious. That's like the beauty of it all. Like I wasn't losing weight, so the puking was
Yeah.
okay. Um, the baby's heartbeat was fine. So the migraines and the blood pressure thing was okay, but it just made for a comical but very frustrating life for me. Justin thought it was hilarious. Like, oh, Chelsea's blind again, dry heaving, and she thinks it's in the toilet, but she's not even in the right
Oh
room.
no.
It's just like, this is just what's happening
Yeah.
to me.
And two, I think it was like, and we always just kept telling you, like, oh, it's going to end after this month. Like, I had no idea. I'm just trying to make you feel better. And you know that.
Oh,
But it just never, and you're
yeah.
like, okay. But, and I think I said to you, I was like, okay, the last one I got for you, Chels, I've heard that if you had bad pregnancy, you're gonna have a good labor and a good baby. Like that was like my last like barter for you just to make you feel
And you
better.
lied with that labor. You
I'm
lied.
sorry, I've never been through it. Don't ask my advice. I was just trying to help.
I'd never been
Yeah.
through it either. I don't
I was like,
know.
I'm just telling you all the bullshit lies everyone's telling to me that we're breaking through this podcast, just so you guys know. We're gonna open that one wide up so no one can be lied to about that again. But yeah, I definitely, yeah, I know. And you're like, I want to know when it's the glowing part because I just feel the death part. I'm like, oh, I don't even know how to help you.
Well, and it was just it was frustrating because I had waited so long to be pregnant, and I was scared, but I was so excited and thankful to be pregnant that I really wanted to be the person that just held my stomach and like loved my belly and just love, because I've always been so like I love myself. Like I don't care if I'm 170 and chunky or like 130 and ripped. Like I love me no matter what. So I really was just expecting to have this big belly and be like, I love this child inside me. But instead, it was just, I feel like
Yeah.
garbage. It was just such a
And then I know,
disappointment.
and then you would like go through this cycles, and then when you felt bad for it, you're like, what is wrong? And I'm like, dude, so many people say this, like, but you just
Yeah,
can't. I just think in your mind as a new mom too, with a pregnancy, brain fog, whatever, you're just like accepting already, like I'm a terrible mother, and it's like, no, literally every mom I've talked to has
yeah.
said this, and you're like, no, but it's just me, and I'm like, no, but okay, okay.
You can't
Yeah,
reason.
no,
You
just
can't
let her have it.
reason.
She's fine. It was good. So would you say that there's any part that was your favorite? I know you had a rougher one for sure, and we all know how much you love Monroe, and it's not about that. But like, was there any part that you found that was like if you were to get pregnant again, you'd be excited about for the second time?
I actually asked Justin about this last night because I couldn't, in at first thought, I don't think of anything
That's
positive.
fair.
It sounds
No,
so
it doesn't.
bad.
It's fair.
Um, but Justin and I went to Panama. It would have been right before the pandemic hit. Thank goodness we
Yes.
went. And it was just our baby moon. And we were there, and there was nobody that knew me. There was no expectations. I had like just a little pot belly on me, but could have just been bloated from all the food. And it was just we got to tell people if we wanted to tell people, and there was just congratulations and no extra questions. And it was just a relaxing, I got to
Mm.
enjoy it, and it was just nice. So if I could like be in Panama for an entire pregnancy,
That's
that's
what
what
I
I
would
want
be.
to
But it
do.
was, such a, and you were so excited about the trip too, and had obviously no idea that that was going to happen. Um, right, but you
Mm-mm.
obviously had this really excitement to go on the trip, excitement to share your news with everybody, and then on top of it then you got extra news, and it was just kind of like I could see that where it was just like on such a like good high, and that was such a good way for you to really
Mm-hmm.
have some of your pregnancy before the rest of the world turned into whatever it is now.
Yeah, it was
It
really
was
good
really good. It
timing.
was just like, the beautiful like story before the movie nightmare. Just kidding. Um, not
No,
not
really though.
not being a mom, or but like the world trash. But I'm really glad
Yeah.
that you had that one moment of just before pregnancy, and that calm and that beauty to,
Yeah.
hold on as a memory, and to get to tell Monroe, and look back with Justin too, because that's when you guys got engaged, and that was such a huge thing for you too. And
Hmm.
to be there with family, and oh, I was so excited for the whole thing for you, and just to see the pictures and hear it. Or, well, you told me first, obviously, but then just to see it, I was like, oh my gosh, just so awesome to see people, good people, just their lives falling together in such a beautiful way. And that was definitely one of those moments where
Hmm.
you're just like so excited for your friend. Um, so that being your most highlighted, and we know you've had some decently not positive ones, but what would you say would be your least favorite? What are you going to prepare for if you get pregnant again with the knowledge that you have now, if you were to do it again?
Um, I think my least favorite part was when people, there was a baby boom here before COVID
Yes.
even hit. So there was a lot of people around me getting pregnant. And at the specific fitness studio that I worked at, two other girls got pregnant at the same time as me. I was pregnant a little bit before them. I was the furthest along, but I was the one who wanted to keep the secret the longest. So nobody at the studio actually knew I was pregnant, but everyone knew that there was at least two people pregnant at the studio. So that started to be, and I was the only one who was starting to show, obviously, because I think I was like a month ahead of
Fair.
everybody. And I just, uh, for quick, brief backstory, the year previously, I held my best friend's hand while she pushed her baby out at 36 weeks and had a stillborn. So that was just really fresh in my mind
Yeah.
still. And as I'm starting to show, and it's getting close to that time where I should be telling people I'm pregnant, and people are starting to question me if I'm pregnant, it was also coming up to that year mark from when Maya died. And I held that sweet little baby girl. Um, so it was just a big emotional time, and I wasn't ready to celebrate. It wasn't that I wanted to keep my pregnancy a secret. It was I wasn't ready to celebrate it with people, so I didn't want people to find out I was pregnant and be happy for me and then me have to comfort them with fake
Yeah.
happiness. I just wasn't ready to say, "Yay, yeah, I am." It was more like, "Oh shit, yeah, I am, and I'm so scared right now." So that was my least favorite part was people just finding out before I was ready.
Yeah. That's fair.
And then obviously like puking
The what?
sucked.
That's not your fave?
And then
Weird.
yeah, puking for,
Nine
the
months.
entire pregnancy was
Yeah.
awful. And people offering solutions after I had felt like I'd tried everything was overwhelming sometimes because I mean there's only so many. I'm not going to go out and buy a different food every single day to try to stop myself from throwing up.
Yeah.
I'm not going to try every single pill, but I did as much as I could. And then there was also a moment where someone I looked up to so much, she's a social media influencer as well, and she's actually local, um, or what is from an area
Mhm.
close to me. uh, but her due date was the same week as me, and she was just preaching hard on her social media how morning sickness is a choice. And
Wow.
that just like broke my heart. She just has like a really good life right now. She has access to some amazing doctors. She's not in Canada anymore. So she just has like a lot of
Yeah.
opportunity that us in a pandemic don't have in Grand
Yeah.
Prairie, Alberta. So she might have been able to get hooked up to all these vitamins and things. I just didn't have that opportunity. And I promised the world that I did my best to stay as healthy as possible through morning sickness. And it was not a choice.
No.
So that was just really like infuriating. And that just fighting with myself because I already felt terrible for being sick because I wasn't letting my body have I don't know. It's like loathing for no
Oh,
reason. Pregnancy is a
goodness,
trip.
and
Like,
going through this, and you guys will hear this when we go through Kayla's pregnancy. It's like there's just this like built-in mom shame that just you guys pump into yourselves, where
yeah,
I can't explain to you where that comes from, because I can't relate, but I can know by being best friends with all of you and hearing, where I just look at you guys and I'm like, can I just smack you for a second? And I mean that with love, but it's just like, I can totally see where you're coming from, because I mean, I can hold guilt. This is going to sound crazy. I don't fucking care. Whatever. Come at me. But like, I can leave Benji all day, and the other cats too, but Benji's real needy. So like, if I leave all day and then I go to the gym and then I'm going to the beach all night and I'm gone all day, I literally think like, oh my God, the poor cat's been at home by himself and he's had no attention. So if I can feel that way about a cat, I can imagine the guilt that can come on, especially with anxiety, especially with your hormones all over the place and things, especially with having a hard time as it is as a human in our generation to realize that social media is highlight reels, and they probably are. But
Mm-hmm.
we can say that all we want, but when we're in the middle of it and when you're spiraling down in those thought patterns, it is really fucking hard to redirect those. And I can imagine being at home in a pandemic, not with people, with a baby, the first time your spouse is gone. That's very fair. And then you've got someone that you look up to being like, oh, give me some saving grace. And they're like, well, it's a choice to be sick. And you're like, what?
I hate
What?
you.
Can we just cancel? Like, I'm not into
Yeah.
cancel culture, but bitch, let's cancel you. Like, how do we sign this? How do
Yeah.
we get this going? Where's the hashtag? Like, and it's just disappointing. And then I think for me, I just had to like block out some people and being like, well, that's your experience, but you know what? That's why we started the show, is so that everyone can talk about their experiences. So if you're out there and you think it's a choice, well, we're telling you it's not. And if it's for you, great. And if you have advice for us, share them, because we would love to hear it. But it's not, it's great to have like advice, but we don't need criticism, you know? There's a
Hmm.
fine line
Exactly.
between
Yes.
constructive criticism and good advice to just straight judgment and criticism. And that's where I
Hmm.
think people work. There's a blurred line there that I think we need to clean up a little bit overall. And I myself included, I'll call myself out too, you know, just certain things, like we said, like, um, and I really want to touch on that I do feel terrible that I remember in that time when you're going stuff with Mia, and you just held this guilt, not like you said, not that you weren't happy, but you were just kind of like, you hadn't really able to wrap your head around the grief that had happened already, let alone being pushed into this,
Hmm.
not pushed in, but all of a sudden a part of this excitement where it's the last thing you knew with that was negative. And the last thing, you're like me, it's like, if you think about it, you're afraid that it'll come real. So if you thought about that could be your reality, the more you talked about it, the more chances that could be a reality, and you have to speak about it. So by keeping it to
Hmm.
yourself, it was just a little kind of like safety net, especially. And I think that you would have been that way regardless, but especially since the timing of when it happened. And
Yeah.
I remember keep telling you, like, dude, it's your business. You don't need to tell anyone. Like, there were some of us that you were, well, obviously got to know a little bit beforehand, before, Facebook did. And I know for me, I made sure to like get really psyched with you, because I knew you weren't sharing it with as many people right now, right? So I totally respected
Hmm.
your reason for doing that. And I probably would have been the same. And if we're being honest about those situations, people maybe have not known this. And if they are listening, the moms know, but I've also been with moms while they've had to deal with their stillborns or a baby passing at a young age, and have done their photography for them. So they've had those moments in time. And that was a hard thing to work through. Um, and I don't know that I've ever really worked through that. I don't know if you can. But it is a moment that blends you together with those hearts for the rest of your life. And it
It
changes
changes
you.
you.
And I'm so grateful that these women chose me to be a part of that with them. And I will always hold that in my heart, always. But it always will be those times, a part where it just pulls on your heartstrings, and you just don't understand the world a little bit.
Hmm.
And your art, then you're coming through this new hormones and the fucking pandemic. And like, man, I just, as always, you just boss babe through all the shit. So I'm super proud. And I'm always love that, you love your daughter and you love everything for it. And you've been like, yeah, well, pregnancy wasn't the greatest for me, but whatever, she was worth it. And this is how it is. And it doesn't change the love that you have for her. And I'm sure you take
Yeah.
back some of the stuff where, probably the puking stuff, but the comments and all that just made you stronger and made you prepared for the extreme amount of unsolicited comments people are going to have about you raising your child. Like, I'm sorry, unfortunately,
Hmm.
it's not going to stop because people are dicks. Um, so it's like like your preschool to now raising your child and having more
Absolutely.
unsolicited comments. Yeah, just
Set the
setting you right
tone.
up so you're a little bit prepared, and you handled that well, and you hold your own, and That's my favorite about you. So I know the answer to these questions, but let's switch it up and turn it a little bit lighter here. Did you find out if you were going to have a girl or a boy when you were pregnant?
So at 20 weeks was the week that the
Yeah.
world shut down. So at 20 weeks, they do an anatomy scan, ultrasound. And it was before the world shut down, though, literally days before. So I got to bring
Nice.
Justin in with me,
Yeah,
my
yeah,
baby daddy. And I also got to bring Paul, our best friend, and also like
yeah.
basically our neighbor. So I had these two boys in the ultrasound with us, and I didn't want to find out what we were having. I wanted
Yeah.
it to be a surprise. I think it was also like squirrel
Yeah.
sideways for a second. I think it was also just me not wanting to connect to what was inside of me in
Fair.
case something did happen, but
Yeah.
all mental stuff. Because 20 weeks, I still wasn't feeling confident with everything. But Justin really, really, really wanted to know what we were having. So we went into that ultrasound. The boys acted like little nerds together, and we had the technician write down our results on a piece of paper and give it to Paul. So Paul ended up having those results for 12 weeks. And then we finally said, okay, let's
I love
find out.
that.
So at 32 weeks,
And
we
he
found
kept it
out.
quiet the whole time.
Paul is
If
so
so,
good. Paul is
there
the
we
best
go,
secret
guys.
keeper I've ever
So
met in
Paul,
my
if you're
life.
looking for a new job, let's pimp him out. He's really good at holding on to those gender reveals. So you can find a
Well, and you
business.
know what else he was great at? He ordered like hockey pucks with
He did.
powder in them. He bought them in two different colors just to
Oh
mess
my
us up
God.
too. Like he
Oh,
went with
that's
it.
so
He
great. And
loved it.
that was the perfect. It was like, it's like that Uncle Paul. Like it's always going to be that story from day one, and it'll be something that they get to share with you guys. And that's what I love about it. I mean, to each their own. If people don't want to do a gender reveal, whatever, like it's really unique to everyone. But if it is something that you want to, and you have that special moment with those people, I think that's one of the funnest things as a friend to be involved in that. Like that's a cool memory he's going to have for Monroe for the rest of his life. And you guys
Mm-hmm.
got photos of it and a video too, right? So you got to see
Mm-hmm.
that real, like, honest moment. And I love that. I think even if people
Mm-hmm.
don't do it for like to do any pictures, or I think just to do it as to capture those moments to keep to yourself privately is really special as well.
Yeah, I'm glad we did it. I never thought I would be that person, but it all just fell together. Paul just said he ordered the pucks, like, do you want to know? And then our friend Kelsey was like, hey, I've got some new equipment to make videos. Can I try them out? And it all just fell together at the
Isn't
same
it?
time. But I'm
Yeah,
so
see, and
glad
I
that we
just
did
think,
it.
and the one thing I think, even though I'm speaking as an artist as point of view, obviously not as a mom point of view, even though I do try to get pictures of my children, my fur children all the time. Um, just do the photos, guys. Look, I know that it might not be the ideal time and you might not look the best and you might look back and hate certain things, but your fucking kids don't know that. My mom will be the first person to say that, she never liked being in photos, and we've talked about this, so this isn't something like calling her out that she doesn't know, but we look back in photos and she was always the one taking the photos, or she wasn't confident enough to be in them. And although my memory is wicked good and I remember so much with her, the photos that we have together are very limited. And and of course it wasn't that big then too. Like if she was a mom now, like, okay, woman's got her photos out. Oh, frick.
Thousand
Now I'm
pictures a
34
day.
and she's still
Yep.
all over me with lots of pictures. So don't worry, it's generational too. But I do know that I have some mom friends and you know who you are if you're listening, and I've given you shit about this. Is like, that's okay. I understand if you're not feeling great about yourself. You don't have to fucking post them to social media, but put them in an album for your kids, because
Hmm.
those are moments that they'll never get back, and they're super important, and you don't have to share them with the world, but have them for your kids, have them for the memories. They're super important, I think, and they're my favorite things to go back and have, even if I don't look at them all the time. So yeah, if you don't want to share your gender reveal moment, fine, just set up your camera on your own phone and record it, just the two of you or just yourself or whatever. you know I think that's super important to have, and I think your kids love that,
Hmm.
going back. And even though it might be hard for you to have some emotional attachments to some of those moments, I think kids love to see that kind of stuff. and now Monroe has it.
Yep,
And that's the thing.
absolutely.
And I love that you said, I'm posting all this stuff from Monroe right now, and sorry for this baby spam, but I'm going to get to look back when the memories pop up and all these things are going to come up. And I
Hmm.
think that's such a cool fucking digital memory, like a digital scrapbook of your daughter's life. I think do those
Yeah,
things. And if people have
exactly.
comments, it's called the unfollow button, fam. It's real easy.
Mm,
Yes,
take
because it
advantage
might
of
not
it.
be here one
Yep.
day, or they might not be participating in it, or maybe social media won't be a thing and we'll be living it in the past. Who knows? But do it now. Enjoy those moments now. So when they pop up, you
Hmm.
can like also make fun of her. Hey, 5 years ago, you just learned how to crawl. Well, not make fun of. That's rude. This is why I'm not a parent.
Yeah, no.
Look at you,
Look at you,
baby. Look at
baby.
you. You
You
can't
couldn't
even
even
walk,
walk.
baby. Yeah, a little
Yeah,
potato.
potato.
So Chelsea, I feel like we've got a really good like view so far of your story of pregnancy. But before we wrap up our conversation today, is there any advice that you'd want to share for soon to be moms? I kind of want to leave this a little bit open to you to speak as much and freely as you want to. Anything that as a new mom or aspiring mom that you'd want to share to perhaps help someone else that are going through anything similar to what you went through?
Um, I think everything's normal. There's weird things that happen to you, and there's weird things that happen to your body, and every single person takes pregnancy different. Like I said before, there was a weird baby boom before COVID even hit, so there was a lot of friends and new friends that were pregnant around me, and we all experienced completely different things. So you can't compare. You can relate to people, but you just can't compare yourself. Um, utilize
Yes.
the unfollow button. Like, I have people that I've been friends with for 20 years that were pregnant at the same time as me, and I just couldn't handle their glowy, beautiful pregnancy because of just jealousy of you didn't even try for that long. Why you got the
Yep,
nice
totally.
pregnancy? So like that's
No,
obviously not me genuinely not liking them and wanting them to be
totally.
throwing up every day. It was just unfollow
Yeah.
and put it out of mind. Um, find your circle of people and lean on them when you need to. Let them know where you're at. If I didn't have people like you, Brandy, or Justin was actually amazing. I was kind of nervous. I didn't know how he was going to go, but he like just find your solid people and lean on them when you need to. Uh, remember, a lot of it is the hormones. Like, blame your hormones because they are crazy. You are
Yes.
creating a human. Mentally prepare for 42 weeks of pregnancy, not 40 weeks of pregnancy. It's 10 months. It is not
Lies.
9 months.
Lies people tell.
It is all lies. Um, and yeah, just find your circle, let go of the friends that no longer serve a positive purpose in your life. Like, just drop them. They're not what's important anymore. Your little baby will be born, and that's literally the only thing that you have to worry about is keeping that thing alive. And literally, all you have to do is focus on keeping that baby alive. The laundry, the dishes can wait, the dog's going for a walk can wait, everything can just come to a complete halt because especially for the first 3 months that is just bananas of a life, and 100% you will regret your decision to have a baby that first week when they're home, and that is actually
Yes. And
so
that's what we're
normal
saying. No.
and nobody
And that's
talks
what
about
we're
it.
saying. And it's crazy. That's why I try to keep telling all of you guys, and that's fine. You didn't want to accept it at the time. That's okay. But being, a seasoned old lady here at 34, I've watched a lot of people go through the same thing and they say the same thing. And it's like I don't know if you ever watch How I Met Your Mother, but like the first like couple days after they have the baby, they're just like talking to them and they just don't remember it. And we're like, we literally just told you. And they're like, yeah, no, like totally. And like it's a thing and it's okay. And it's okay, like you said, to lean on the people. And I mean, I definitely wasn't there to tell you what to do, but I definitely always just listened to you and tried to tell you, like, at least help you sort through some of the hormones and be like, no, dude, you're just pregnant. Like it's okay. And you don't need a
Yeah,
friend that's been through all of it. I think you just need a friend that cares about you and just reminds you who you are as a core person. And because you just feel so lost at sometimes or so nervous or so anxious. And I know for me it's like I hope I'm doing well for you guys. But and same with Kayla, now she'll call me like and to talk about parenting. And I'm like, well, here's my thoughts, but I've never had a kid. She's like, no, but you have such a voice of reason. And, so don't
Mhm.
discredit your single, not single, but without children friends, because we also have a lot of mom friends and we have lots of nieces and nephews, and we've watched a
Mhm.
lot and we've heard a lot and we've been leaned on a lot. So we're also good sounding boards as well, even though we might not be able to relate some ways. We're your biggest cheerleaders and we love moms, even if for me, like we said, we don't know how I'm going to be able to be a mom one day or if I will, but it doesn't matter because I'm here for you guys in all those aspects, right? And you don't have to have a physical baby to still mom and be a parent to friends and coworkers and families around you. And
Mhm.
I think we're proof of that in community, and just being there for people and being honest. I think we've strived in our friendship because we've always been honest and real. And maybe to a
Very
point where
honest.
we're both like,
Uh-huh.
okay, we're gonna be vomiting gross right now and say something. It's probably out of left field, but I'm having a moment, and that's the same with Kayla and with Lexi. And I think those are the most important adult relationships, were ones that you're totally safe to show up in and be like, I'm probably wrong, but do you hate me right now? And then both of us are like, no, like that's not what we meant at all. And it's just like, okay, cool, carry on. Like it's so freeing.
Mhm.
And I think as new mom, that's what you need. Like you said, drop the people that don't matter, because the ones that do will be there and they'll understand, and don't waste your time
Mhm.
with those that aren't holding that kind of time or space for you or understanding that you're a new mom. And I would never once did I ever make you feel like you didn't spend any time with me. I'm like, no, she's fucking raising a little human. Like, let me know when you've got time for me and
Mhm.
I'll make it there, but I'm always here. And that I would never change that in our friendship. And it's sad to me when people are like, oh, well, I lost my friends because I became a mom. It's like people just need to understand with mental illnesses, with kids, with parenting, with anything, it's not against other people. It's that you have something in your life you need to focus on right now. And that's okay too. That's 100%
Mhm.
okay, actually. That's the point of life. If our parents didn't do that, then we'd probably be a lot bigger assholes than we are now. um, but before we go, thank you so much for sharing everything, Chelsea. I mean, for me, I've already known even 10 times more, all the fun adventures that we had outside of even you being pregnant. But I love just again how always honest you are. And if it makes you feel any better, every other girl has said the same thing. Like get your group. Don't worry about what other people think. You know what's best for you. And I think too, one thing that you'll probably be one to say is, if you don't get the right answers to from a doctor, like continue looking for things.
Actually, that was the
Yeah,
last thing that I wanted to add was family doctors don't always know
yeah.
best,
And
and
you
trust your
and
gut.
that's a big thing that I watched you go through too. And I've watched a lot of my girlfriends go through certain things, and that was one thing for you. And I know that that was a point. Sorry, that I knew you wanted to bring up that we hadn't said yet is, you know, no, that's okay.
I
I just
forgot.
remember seeing it and knowing that that was a big thing, and it's been a common theme through everyone. So again, if that's
Mhm.
not the right doctor, you keep finding the doctor, because you and your baby are the most important, and you know your body, you knew your body, and you just keep going until
Mhm.
you find the right person. And don't just because one professional tells you no doesn't mean that that's your truth. Could be a truth, it could be
Yeah.
another pregnant woman's truth, it doesn't mean it's yours, and you'll know. And if you go to 35,000 of them and they're all saying the same thing, then you're shit out of luck. But don't just take the first one. So anything else, my love, that we could add to your thoughts on pregnancy in general?
No,
Good,
that's a
perfect,
pretty
good.
good
That
wrap
means
up.
that we got around to everything you wanted to say. Thank you so much again, Chelsea, for coming on the show. You did an amazing
Mhm.
job. I hope you had a good time. Um, I hope it won't be your last time that we'll have
Yeah.
you on the show. We'll find some other hot topics. I definitely want to pick your brain about bodybuilding once we get into that world 1 month, because I respect the fuck out of you out of most things, but that one is the biggest, because I think a lot of people can take away and learn a lot from you there. So I hope today a lot of people learned a lot about pregnancy. I know I did, and I always did. I've learned so much between you guys. You just like absorb everything. But thank you again for coming on the show today. I appreciate you.